Deep in the thick forest, a visitor named Emma got hurt, was alone, and in danger. Then a massive gorilla appeared and did something that amazed the whole village. Emma Thompson loved animals and quiet woods. As a city girl, she had never been this cut off from normal life. She missed her GPS more than expected. Bad phone signal forced her to use a compass, which she'd learned just days before. She was definitely lost. The lovely bird sounds and misty air made her want to keep going. She should have turned back earlier, but the scenery was amazing. A few miles in, she met villagers returning from a nearby stream. They greeted each other, and she noted the stream as a landmark for her return. Now, she wasn't sure she could find it again. Deeper in the forest, Emma felt tired. She was walking in circles and had used up her energy. While drinking from her water bottle, a threatening growl nearby froze her with fear. Her eyes widened as she listened carefully. The growl sounded hurt, making her feel sympathy instead of fear. Emma faced a choice: run for safety or help something that needed her. Her adventurous spirit whispered this might be her chance to help the wild world she'd entered. As the growls got louder, Emma stood up and walked toward them. With each step, she moved closer to the distressed sounds. Finally, she saw what was making the noise. She gasped at the terrible scene. A huge silverback gorilla was caught in a cruel trap, fighting against a tight net. The sight shocked Emma. The trapped gorilla was now at her mercy. She had to decide: help the magnificent animal escape, or turn away to avoid danger from the hunters who set the trap. But humans weren't the only threat. How would the gorilla react to her? Emma was sure the beast knew humans were responsible for its suffering. Would it attack her when she got close? As Emma thought about this, the gorilla made a unique sound that seemed to go beyond normal animal calls. It was a plea for help that echoed through the jungle. Emma's heart broke. She moved closer and stepped on a branch that cracked loudly. The noise echoed, and the gorilla quickly turned toward her, locking eyes with hers. Emma froze, startled. The animal looked angry and desperate. She suddenly felt approaching would be terrible. But then the gorilla growled again, its eyes softening in a moment of shared weakness. In that look, Emma sensed a plea for freedom from the trap. She knew she should leave, but she couldn't abandon the poor creature to cruel hunters. With firm resolve, Emma stepped forward, determined to help. She pulled out a small knife, her only tool. The gorilla, seeing the metal, became more aggressive, growling and trying to show dominance even while trapped. "Easy, easy," Emma whispered softly, making gentle gestures to show she meant no harm, only freedom. The gorilla, still careful, gradually calmed as Emma approached. Kneeling down, she began carefully cutting the net around the magnificent creature. Every movement was deliberate, trying to earn trust from an animal whose instincts demanded survival. The gorilla's growl softened as Emma carefully cut the imprisoning strands. The net finally broke, and with a burst of energy, the gorilla surged forward, free from its trap. With the net cut and the gorilla free, Emma watched as the silverback began pacing aggressively. A shiver ran down her spine as she understood the danger. It was trying to show dominance, proving that even though she saved it, it could still overpower her if it wanted. Emma shivered. How could she seem less threatening? She remembered that Silverback saw direct eye contact as a threat, so she lowered her head and avoided looking into the gorilla's eyes. The gorilla's frustration showed in powerful displays. Standing on back legs, pounding its chest with mighty hands, the jungle echoed with the sounds of raw power as the creature released its built-up energy. Suddenly, the atmosphere changed. The gorilla calmed down and settled on the jungle floor. A peaceful sound came from it, seeming to tell Emma not to fear. Puzzled, she watched as the gorilla extended its arms, asking her to come closer and look. Gathering courage, Emma carefully approached. That's when she noticed something on the gorilla's right wrist, a bracelet, and it was trying to show it to her. She moved slightly closer and read the single word written on it. As she said the name Bantu, the gorilla nodded in understanding. "Bantu, is that your name?" Emma asked, amazed. Emma was confused. Who had given a wild gorilla a bracelet with its name? She thought Bantu might have been part of an animal rescue center where he got his name before being released back into the wild. Quickly searching her bag, Emma found bananas she had gathered during her journey. She offered them to Bantu, and the gorilla eagerly ate the fruit, creating a moment of connection between them. With a final look over his shoulder, Bantu stood up, turned his back to Emma, and disappeared into the dense jungle. Puzzled and heart-pounding, Emma sat down to think about the amazing encounter. She had dared to venture into the wild and experienced a one-on-one meeting with a creature she'd only seen on television. Emma stared at the torn net, a real symbol of her role in Bantu's freedom. Tired and overwhelmed by the experience, Emma decided it was time to return to her room in the village. However, as she thought about her next move, she realized the villagers might not be the only humans she'd meet. The hunters who set the trap might have heard Bantu's calls and could be coming. Urgently, Emma quickly stood up with her bag. Just as she took her first step, her worst fear began to come true. Distant rustling in the jungle hinted at approaching danger. The sounds of footsteps grew louder, revealing fierce men coming to check their trap. The hunters who had set the net to catch Bantu were closing in. In heart-stopping seconds, 5 tough men emerged from the shadows, carrying machetes that gleamed in the sunlight. Their sharp gazes locked onto Emma, surprise on their faces as they questioned her presence alone in the wild. One hunter moved toward the net, discovering their trap had caught something big. As their eyes met Emma's, they realized she had let their prey go. "Did you release whatever was in our net?" one hunter demanded aggressively. Another man, less aggressive, suggested Emma seemed unlikely to release a wild animal. "She's just a woman. The jungle sounds we heard earlier were dangerous. She wouldn't have survived if she'd been responsible." However, the leader dismissed this explanation, pointing at the knife on Emma's waist. With no injuries on her, he gestured toward the messy footprints showing her wandering and interference with their captured game. The hunters realized what happened, and their anger grew as they saw Bantu's clear footprints nearby, proving Emma's involvement in the gorilla's escape. Trying to hide her fear, Emma stood still, tears streaming down her face despite trying to stop them. Without mercy, the men tied her hands and loaded her into their vehicle trunk, leaving no escape. The atmosphere grew tense as the hunters prepared to transport Emma to their camp. In the confined space, Emma strained to listen to their conversation. The men's quiet tones revealed their evil intentions. They planned to lock her up and demand money from whoever wanted her back. Fear crept over Emma as she realized how serious her situation was. "We'll keep her at the camp," one hunter said. "Someone will pay good money to get her back." "What about the gorilla?" another asked. "That's Bantu. His family, including his 2 brothers, were taken by us. He was the only one rescued by a wildlife organization and released after months of healing. But once he was back in his environment, Bantu started attacking our camp looking for his brothers, causing destruction and chaos." A pang of sadness gripped Emma's heart when she learned about Bantu's family. Understanding the hunters' relentless pursuit of Bantu, Emma understood how big her problem was. She had accidentally become involved in a dangerous web spun by those seeking to exploit the intelligence and family bonds of the very creatures she wanted to protect. Sorry for the interruption. Before we continue with the story, I kindly ask you to like the video and subscribe to this channel. It is very important for us. Thank you very much. Emma was set on getting away, so she made a plan. She had a small knife hidden in her back pocket that would save her life. Even with her hands tied behind her back, she carefully grabbed the knife without anyone noticing. When the poacher drove slowly around a sharp, steep turn, Emma saw her chance. While the car went around the corner, she quietly cut through the ropes on her hands. She timed everything just right and jumped out of the moving car, landing on her feet and running. The poachers were surprised and rushed to catch her as she ran down the hill. Emma's heart was pounding as she ran as fast as she could. But she stepped wrong and fell down the hill, everything spinning around her until she passed out. At the same time, the head poacher looked at what happened and told his men to stop chasing her. Maybe he thought the rough land and jungle were too dangerous, so he decided to leave Emma there, thinking she couldn't survive by herself in the wild. Emma lay knocked out at the bottom of the hill, and no one knew what would happen to her, caught between the danger from the poachers and the wild jungle around her. Back in the village, Marcus, Emma's tour guide, was getting more worried as time went by. His face showed how upset he was as hours passed with no sign of the visitor. "She should be back already," Marcus said to the village leader. "Something bad has happened." He was so worried that he decided to do something. The village leader quickly put together a group to search for the missing city woman. When Emma woke up in the wild, she found herself next to a big rock that had stopped her from falling further. She felt weak and mixed up, and she realized she had hurt her leg badly and was bleeding. Using all her energy, she managed to sit up against the strong rock. She was thankful to have gotten away from the poachers and reached for her bag. Luckily, she still had some water and food. She was very hungry, so she quickly ate the food and drank all the water. She used a tissue from her bag to wrap around her leg wound, trying to stop the bleeding, even though the blood had already stopped. Emma desperately tried to call for help and grabbed her broken phone, but it wouldn't work. Facing the truth that she was stuck alone with no help, she decided to try to find her way back to the village. But her hurt leg was a big problem, causing awful pain when she tried to stand up. As Emma thought about what little she could do, she heard sounds in the bushes, which made her more scared. She imagined a dangerous wild animal attracted by the smell of her blood, or maybe even the same men she had tried so hard to escape. She felt weak, tired, and hurt, with no way to protect herself from anything dangerous. The rustling sounds and quiet growling got closer, making Emma close her eyes in fear, getting ready to face a wild animal. She felt someone touch her shoulder. Shocked, she slowly opened her eyes and she couldn't believe it. Bantu was standing there. "Bantu," she said quietly, hardly believing it. The gorilla she had rescued from the poacher's trap was now helping her. Not sure what Bantu wanted to do, Emma remembered hearing the poachers talk about how he had been trained. He had lived with people at a rescue center and might have learned how to talk with humans. Using basic hand signals, she showed him her injuries and told him she needed to get home. She was amazed when Bantu used similar hand signals to talk back to her. Feeling hopeful, Emma realized that Bantu wanted to help her. He bent down, gently lifted her up, and started walking. Time passed, and it got dark as they moved through the jungle. When Emma saw the stream from earlier, knowing they were close to the village, they were stopped by bright lights cutting through the darkness. Bantu sensed danger, put Emma down and started acting threatening, hitting his chest and moving around angrily. Emma watched, confused about what was happening. Soon, a search group appeared, with Marcus leading them. "There she is," Marcus shouted to his team. Emma realized the bright lights came from the rescue team sent by the village leader. Bantu saw the humans as enemies because of what the poachers had done, so he faced the team aggressively. "Marcus, please move back," Emma called out, scared. "Let me calm him down. He's trying to keep me safe." As the team moved back to a safe distance, Emma used hand signals to talk to Bantu, letting him know that these men were there to help. When he understood what she meant, Bantu came over and touched her hand gently, saying goodbye without words before going back into the jungle. Marcus and the search team were confused by the special friendship between the human and gorilla, but they came closer carefully. They brought Emma back to the village, where she got local medicine and care for her hurt leg. 2 weeks later, Emma had gotten much better. The village was full of curious people waiting to hear her amazing story firsthand. Stories about her friendship with a gorilla were already spreading, and everyone wanted to know what really happened. Now, completely healed, Emma told her incredible story to the village leader and Marcus. She explained her meeting with the gorilla and the serious danger from the poachers. "I know it sounds unbelievable," Emma said, "but that gorilla saved my life after I saved his." The local people were shocked by her story and found it hard to imagine this city woman working together with a wild gorilla in the jungle. But as she talked, something even more shocking became clear. The poachers weren't just dangerous to animals but were a real threat to the village people too. Understanding how urgent this was, the village leader acted quickly. He called the police, giving them important information about where the poachers were hiding. Using Emma's description of where she escaped, the police moved fast. Close to the area she described, they found the poachers' hideout and caught all of them. "We've been searching for these men for months," the main police officer told the village leader. "This woman's information was exactly what we needed." Emma had accidentally become a force for justice, stopping the poachers' illegal activities in the area. As the time came for her to go back to the city, she looked around with mixed feelings. She would miss the peaceful nature of the village, the friendly faces, and the kind local people who had welcomed her during her visit. But most importantly, Emma thought about how her adventurous and brave personality had made a difference, the part she played in protecting wild animals from the poachers' harm. As she got ready to leave the village, her thoughts stayed with Bantu, the gorilla who had become the center of her amazing journey. She thought about how, now that the poacher threat was gone, Bantu would be able to live a better and safer life in the jungle that had once been dangerous. With relief, Emma pictured Bantu doing well in the thick, wild forest, free from the constant threat of those who wanted to take advantage of the intelligence and family connections of wild animals. Did you like this story? How would you react if you came across an injured wild animal? Would you be brave enough to assist it the way Emma did? Share your thoughts in the comment section. If you enjoyed this tale, please subscribe to our channel and give it a thumbs up. Compassion toward animals often returns to benefit us during our times of need. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in our next episode. Wishing you a wonderful day.